Well, just before the break, we were looking at that amazing book, and we were talking about people taking, steps and coming together and having integrity and caring about themselves and understanding that work is worship. No matter what you do in the world, you're doing something, you're participating, you're helping, and that has to be a path to enlightenment. And as we were saying just a moment ago, that fireflies tend to congregate, don't they? They kind of like light up a darkness, they illuminate it, and then they congregate.
So they do. Fireflies communicate through light. And think about this for a minute.
Hmm.
People, we communicate through light too. Um, and mystics have known this, that we are light for thousands upon thousands of years. And now we have science that says, yeah, you guys were right all along. I joke that a lot of what quantum physics is just proving what metaphysics has told everybody and esoteric philosophy has told everybody for years and years and years. But in ancient Sanskrit, what do we say when we take yoga classes? It's namaste. And namaste is ancient Sanskrit that means the light in me sees the light in you. We communicate through light too. So the stronger you shine your light, it's like being a lighthouse. We're sending out the same messages to others who go, oh, I see that. And now I can shine my light back. And it's the realization that what we allow ourselves to shine, not only do we gather those others to communicate with and is that larger community, but it kind of gives permission to those people who are standing on the sidelines, biting their nails, going, I'm not sure, should I, shouldn't I? Those people who are standing along, I call it the firefly path, and the people who are standing alongside of the path, who are wishing, who are hoping, who are thinking, you're really kind of saying to them, it's okay. We're giving you permission. You don't need our permission. And that's the wonderful thing about fireflies. They don't ask anyone for permission to shine, they just do. But look at what we're doing by setting an example. We're shining. Come and join us. You're welcome. We'd love to have you shine too.
Well, I think everybody's looking for light in their life. There's a lot of darkness out there, and the thing about darkness is when you go in a dark room, if you turn on one light bulb, where does that darkness go? Man,
Right.
just
And what I say about fireflies, if everything was bright, you wouldn't see their light. It would just kind of blend in. So fireflies shine brightest in the dark. And I look at people go, oh, but I'm so scared. I'm nervous. Fear. Fear is universal. It's something that we all have, represents our shadow side of those things, and it's different for each of us, but it's not something that you get over. Oh, get over your fear or put it aside. And courage is something I talk about that needs to be cultivated, and fear is something that you have to bring it in. We've all had trauma. You can't say I'm leaving it in the past. It's part of you. It's part of what creates the you that are you, that needs to be welcomed in, but it doesn't need to have the power to guide you. It can be to the side. It can add to your depth. It can add to your understanding, your compassion, your empathy, because you know now that not only do you have this, but everybody else has it too. And then courage, I keep saying, is not something we're born with. It's something that we cultivate, where you do things not because you're no longer afraid, but you do things because you're afraid, but you still have to do them. And you still want to move forward.
Mhm.
And when you're in touch with that piece of yourself of this is what brings me the greatest happiness, the greatest purpose, this is why I'm here, somehow that takes hold, and that feeling becomes stronger than the fear. It becomes stronger than the anxiety. And you go, I've just got to do this no matter what.
Well, I think the cosmos or nature has a tendency to push you along a little bit. And, you're in your book, The Extraordinary Power of Fireflies, you talk about alternatives and listening to you today, encouraging people Fear is there, so you can't naively say it doesn't exist. It does. It's an emotion. It's not a real thing. You can't hang on to it. But meeting that fear and handling it, I think, is what you just said a moment ago. Encouraging people to do that, I think, is amazing. How do you get people who are listening to this broadcast right now and they're sitting there listening to you and saying, "Oh my gosh, Julie, you're an angel. You're amazing, and you're telling me all these wonderful things. And how do I get up off this couch and get out of my house and face the world? I've been shut in for, months or days. I've had trauma. I'm depressed. I'm divorced. Just got fired." I look at that and say, onward and upward, right? Okay, like nature is showing good change. So how do you encourage people to get to that point?
That's part of why I feel like I need to pull the curtains back to
And I,
say when you look at all these other people that have done this and this and this and oh, I'm nothing, I can't do that. Um, it's time to pull the curtains back to understand how people do what they do. We start out in our deepest being, we get those whispers from our soul. This is what we want to do. And as we visualize this, we get super excited. And that feeling of joy, and that's all in your head. It's all within you, in your spirit, that you're feeling that. What that is to me is that window to the powers of possibility that you have within you to make that all happen. But what happens is then we go out into the world and we start telling friends, "Oh, I'm thinking this is like really exciting." And we meet the naysayers and, "Oh, you
uh-huh,
can't do that and you can't do this and it's not going to work." And what that does, and a lot of times we blame them. Oh, my family says I can't. How am I gonna? This isn't gonna work. We put on them, but the truth is, it's not them at all. What it's done is it's touched on our own insecurities and
mhm,
our own fears of, and we all carry this. What if I'm not good enough? I'm not deserving. I'm not worthy. And that's why when you want to transform the world, we begin with transforming you so that no matter who you are, where you are worthy and you are deserving. And to understand everybody has trauma. Then when I get is, oh, but I don't have a degree. And then they don't realize the people who don't have a degree that the people who do have the degrees go, oh, I have a degree, but it's in the wrong area. And there's always a reason. I worked with a woman once and I used this as an example to show how this worked. She said to me once, "I'm so lonely and I really need a community. I need to get together and find friends." And I found a group that I thought she'd be absolutely perfect for. And I said, "How about this? I found this group I want to tell you about." And she said, "Oh, I can't do this. I have to work." "Well, but it doesn't take place during the day." "Oh, I can't drive at night." I said, "Well, it doesn't happen at night, but it's not happening during your work hours. It happens on the weekends." But it was a no, I can't do it because, and all
right.
we all go down that path, which is why it's not enough to say, "Oh, here's my inspirational, motivational, let's get you off the floor." We need that constantly because from week to week, we go, "Oh my gosh, but this happened this week. I thought that I had this, but now I'm not so sure I can do this anymore." And it doesn't matter where you are. And one of the things in terms of the fireflies that I've written about, and what I talk about taking unconventional paths is we're taught that you have to do A to get to B to get to C to get to D. And if we didn't do that or it didn't work or our life didn't work out that way, we go, "Oh, we can't do it." The truth is that all the people that have made it to where they wanted to go have all taken very winding paths and they didn't take that narrow road that you thought that they did. I look at how many CEOs that I've worked with that never got a college degree. Well, nobody knows that because when you've been doing this long enough, you have your public relations group, and somebody somewhere at the local college goes, "Oh, we want to give you an honorary degree." So you start the first year, you make a big deal that you got the honorary degree. And then after that, it's like, "Oh, yeah, you got his degree from here and here and here." Never went through that college experience, we take the experiences that we all have and we try to fit them into these compartments for the public and for the media to kind of understand how it goes without realizing anything can take place. And I'll give you one quick short story of how that works. I've worked in the theater and I've worked with film, and I know how difficult it is to do anything with that. And I've been a production assistant through my earlier days. Well, my husband also works in the field with zoos and aquariums and museums. And he came to me one day and he said, I really think I want to do a television show. And what's going on inside of me is that naysayer. Oh my gosh, you can't do this. It's a 1 in a million chance that you're going to get an opportunity to do anything. But I stop myself, and that becomes that awareness of that transformation we all need to be working on. And I did not say a word. I said, if this is what you want to do, I want you to be really clear on what it looks like. Come up with a vision, come up with a business plan of how you're going to do this. Mind you, we didn't even own a camera at the time, but he wanted to do the whole thing. He wrote it. He said, this is my business proposal. And I said, go out and do it. And within 2 weeks, he had a contract to do a television series on nature. And I'm telling you, and then we turned around and went, oh my gosh, we need a credit card to go buy a $9,000 camera to get this happening. But because there was the support, because there was nothing that says you can't do this, he did it. Not only did he do it, he actually went on to win an Emmy Award. So you
Wow,
go,
good for him.
so today you go, oh, well, this is an Emmy Award winning television producer. He wasn't always an Emmy Award winning television producer. He didn't go to school to study television. He went to school to study graphic arts and worked within zoos and aquariums, big on nature. He just came to it from a different perspective. And that's my point, where there's always that, we call it unconventional. That's because convention doesn't always work. And convention sometimes needs to be pushed aside to say, but here's a different way that I can get up that same mountain and accomplish what I want to accomplish.
I know life is a university. We all get our degrees by going through that degree of hard knocks, so to
Yeah.
speak, and then opportunities, teachers, mentors show up. But we always seem to have to take the steps, right? I mean, we stand outside the university and look at it and say, "Well, that's going to be pretty hard. I don't know what's going," and walk away. I
Always,
hit that
always.
threshold.
Yeah. What's the story that they tell the woman who says, I pray and I meditate every day that I want to win the lottery? And one day she's fun and I never won. You gotta buy a ticket. You have to take that first step. And
Exactly.
and they can be small steps and then more small steps. And they all add up.
Well, that was a good story about your husband. And a good story that, you're the wife and you're the motivational person, you've gone through this yourself and you caught yourself at that moment of saying, because it's a mountain of responsibility and getting started like everything else is from the
But
moment you decide it's a mountain. But once you, I don't mean to interrupt, but once
no,
you get started, right, and you,
yeah.
you go.
And yes, and isn't that how it always is? It's not that I don't do that anymore. I'm so far beyond that. No, we're all human, and it comes up, but that becomes that action plan where it's like, oh, it's that inner awareness. Uh-oh, I know what's coming up, and it's because I've heard everybody tell me you'll never do this and this and this and oh my gosh, what am I doing? But catching it before it happens and being aware of it, being aware when we're in situations with other people that we begin to, knowing what your tells are, your voice starts to get high, you start to talk a little bit too fast, and to say, "Ah, I'm having an emotional reaction to this. Let's sit back and think why and what it is, because it's not that this person is doing you wrong, it's that they've touched on something that's deep down inside that reminds you of something else. So let's put it back to its root and where it is. And let's say, how do I want to respond today in that situation? That's the work. Sometimes everybody teaches about manifesting. And I joke I need to do a course called Manifesting for the Rest of Us, because just sitting there and saying, this is what I want, this is what I visualize, isn't enough. You got to do the work. And the work isn't, it would be so simple if the work was just to write a 10-page essay. The work is within us. And that's what needs to shift. And that's what changes everything.
Well, there's two lessons I've learned in life, and I think you've just touched upon them. One is don't tell anybody your plans, number one. And number two, the second thing is that uh, people who are successful have have been the people who have heard all the naysayers say you can't do it, and they got started, and to prove them wrong, they were angry, they whatever. They did what people said they couldn't do. So those two things. One is don't tell people your plans,
Yeah.
and whatever people say, like just take that and overcome it or move forward and move forward. Listen, you've been talking a lot of wisdom here today, and I encourage my audience to listen to this video again, and in particular, pick up the extraordinary power of fireflies. I was thinking the whole time you were talking that fireflies are courageous. They go into the darkness, they
Yeah.
illuminate, and they give off this light, freely. It's part of their essence. It's who they are. And talking, as you were talking to people about, like illuminating yourself, like believing in yourself. And again, a lot of wisdom in what you've had to say today. So I've been looking at your bio and your press kit here, and a lot of things you were saying today are in your press kit. And I'm sure the extraordinary power of fireflies has a lot more than what we've talked about today. What is the one thing we can, whet the appetite of our audience and say, this is why you need to get this information?
Uh, it just dawned on me as you said that, because I don't think about the process of writing the book, but in writing this, I actually spent time sitting in bookstores and libraries and asking people, what are you looking for and how do you read? Nobody liked long chapters. I actually wrote this to be a book that's readable. My joke is I will be the happiest the day that I see it in a used bookstore where it's dog-eared and highlighted and it has notes on the side to show that people used it. But so many books like this, even if they have things that are inspirational, you go, okay, this is great. How do I take this and put this into my own life? Every single chapter in this book ends with an exercise to say, okay, you've read it. I've given you two different examples of different ways people have done this. Here are some of the issues attached to this. Now let's do this exercise so that you can take it into your own world and so that you can make the changes. It's not, we don't want you to be a bystander anymore. So even in terms of the book, it's like, come on in and join us and come start doing some transformation of yourself.
Well, I encourage everybody. The website is called extraordinaryfireflies.com. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Extraordinaryfireflies.com. Julie Wignall is our guest today. She is the amazing author of The Extraordinary Power of Fireflies. I'm getting my dizzy here with saying all these fireflies in my head. So The Extraordinary Power of Fireflies is the name of the book. And well, Julie, it's been amazing to have you on here today. I wish you well. And, I think it's a book that everybody ought to run out right now. I guess it's on Amazon, is it? And
It's
bookstore?
available anywhere you can order books.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for coming on today. It's a pleasure, and we wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're an amazing person, and listening to you have a lot of life and a lot of experiences, and just to sit down and have the opportunity to talk to you, and or to read your book, I mean, people are going to change their lives for the better. So more firefly light to you in the world. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Soul Report. We hope you've enjoyed today's amazing guest, and we look forward to having you go on YouTube and ring the bell, click the button, and follow us and subscribe. Don't forget, to follow us on all your social media channels. Until next time, keep nurturing your spirit, seeking knowledge, and spreading positivity. And remember, the growth of your soul is the most exciting journey you can embark on. Until next time, I'm your host, Dr. Douglas James Cottrell. We'll see you right here on the Soul Report.